Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to really pull out the most useful nuggets of knowledge for you, cutting through all that noise. Today, we've got a pretty amazing story. Imagine this. A sports team, right? A century, literally a century, of being just, well, mediocre. So average that manufacturers didn't even want their names on the team's gear. That was British cycling. And yet somehow, in just about 10 years, they rack up 178 world championships, 66 Olympic and Paralympic golds, 5 Tour de France wins. I mean, staggering numbers. So the question is, how? How did they pull off such a massive turnaround? Was it some huge, dramatic change or maybe something smaller?
It really came down to the power of marginal gains. That's the cumulative effect of tiny, tiny improvements adding up, compounding over time. And look, this isn't some brand new idea. It echoes, ancient wisdom, like the philosopher Sunzi saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with small steps.
Hmm.
Modern science backs this up too. So today's deep dive is all about unpacking that. We're drawing a lot from a great article by Lay. It's called The Compound Effect of Atomic Habits, Breaking Bad Routines and Building Life-Changing Behaviors. It's on his blog, Startup Literature. Our goal here is really to distill the most crucial takeaways for you, to help you see how, tiny shifts in your own life can lead to really remarkable results.
Yeah, and what's great about Lai's piece is how he makes these, frankly, complex ideas feel really accessible. He brings in his own experiences, too. He shows how this compounding thing isn't just for habits. It applies everywhere, like finance, even. He talks about how it's the same principle that let, say, a janitor become a millionaire just by consistently investing in the stock market over the long haul. Lai's actually written about that kind of thing before.
Exactly. So for you listening, what we want to do is demystify some of these behavioral and financial concepts, give you some actionable things, strategies you can actually use right away, whether you're looking at, I don't know, your career, personal growth, or maybe a total lifestyle change.
Okay, so let's dig into that British cycling story. The coach, Dave Brailsford, he didn't go for the big, obvious stuff first. Instead, he looked at details that seem almost, well, trivial, like tiny adjustments to bike seats for better comfort, applying alcohol to tires, who thinks of that, for better grip, different massage gels for recovery, and this is the one that gets me, teaching the athletes how to wash their hands properly to avoid getting sick.
Right. It sounds almost funny, doesn't it? Lay mentions in his article he was skeptical too, especially about the hand washing. Like, really? But the results, I mean, you said it, they were spectacular. It's a perfect illustration of compounding. Success looks sudden, like it happens overnight. But it's almost always the result of tons of these small intentional improvements piling up. They build and build until you hit this threshold moment where everything just clicks into place.
Mm. It really makes you think, how does this apply to us, to our everyday lives? Because that compound effect seems most powerful through our daily habits, right?
Mhm.
Good habits can create this like upward momentum towards feeling good, achieving things. But the flip side is true too. Negative habits can drag you down, create real problems mentally and physically. Even tiny tweaks to routines can change everything.
Yeah, and Light points out this interesting paradox. We've known for ages how important habits are, right? Ancient wisdom, all that. So why is it so hard for so many of us to actually build good ones? He mentions James Clear's work, Atomic Habits, and Lee's take is that we put maybe too much emphasis on setting big goals and just relying on willpower. And often that just doesn't lead to lasting change. It's like knowing the destination, but having no map, no compass for the actual journey.
Right. Which leads straight into this idea Lay calls a goalless mindset. His point is that goals alone don't really determine who succeeds. Think about it. Military officers, top athletes, politicians, they often have the exact same goals, identical objectives, but the results, wildly different. So what's the missing piece if it's not just the goal?
Well, it suggests maybe we need to shift our focus a bit. Instead of just staring at that distant finish line, what if we focused on making the process, the journey itself, enjoyable, enriching? It's not about ditching your ambitions, not at all. It's about building a system for growth that you can stick with because you actually find satisfaction in the day-to-day steps. That's the real win, Lay argues, finding joy in the process.
That framing, focusing on the journey, really does shift things.
Yeah.
And speaking of shifts, Lay talks about 3 levels where real change happens, building on Clear's ideas. There's outcome, that's your goals, then process your systems, your habits. And then the deepest level, identity, your core beliefs about yourself, how you see yourself.
Exactly. And Clear suggests, and Lay strongly agrees, that the order matters a lot. Most people, they start with the outcome, I want to lose X pounds. But Lay finds that often leads straight to, well, failure. He uses weight loss as a classic example, something he says he knows quite a bit about personally. You focus on the number on the scale, the diet rules,
Mhm.
but you maybe ignore the underlying reasons why you struggle to be consistent.
Which brings us to maybe one of Lee's biggest points. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. So if you try to change your behavior, let's say, eat healthier, but deep down, your identity is still someone who loves junk food and hates salads. You create this internal battle, right?
Mhm.
Your actions are fighting your self-image, and as Lee puts it, that ingrained identity almost always wins. It's self-sabotage, basically.
Mm-hmm. But the flip side is incredibly powerful identity-based transformation. Instead of just focusing on what you want to achieve, start by thinking about who you want to become. If you truly start to see yourself as, say, a wellness enthusiast who enjoys healthy food, then making those healthy choices, it stops feeling like a chore. It becomes just
Yeah.
what you do. It's acting in line with who you are now.
Lee does add a word of caution, though. This identity thing cuts both ways. Negative identities, I'm just not a morning person, I'm terrible with money, those can absolutely become self-fulfilling. The key takeaway is that identities aren't fixed. They're stories we tell ourselves. And we can rewrite those stories. We can shape them consciously.
Absolutely. Our identities aren't set in stone. They're fluid. They change based on what we do, what we experience. It follows this pattern, really, of building belief based on evidence. You gather proof for who you want to be.
And that's what Lay calls building a portfolio of proof for your new identity. I like that phrase.
Hmm.
Every small action that fits the person you're aiming to be, that's another piece of evidence. It strengthens your belief in that new self.
Right. Lay lays out this self-reinforcing cycle for change that lasts. 1, choose the new identity you want. 2, start taking small, consistent actions that line up with it. 3, those actions start becoming habits, more automatic. 4, the habits reinforce your new self-image. And 5, that stronger identity makes it easier, more natural to keep doing those aligned behaviors. It feeds itself.
Lay uses military training as an example here, something he finds fascinating. Think about recruits on day one. Making beds perfectly, polishing boots, keeping uniforms spotless. Seems mundane, right? But it's not just about chores. It's a system, a brilliant system for reinforcing identity. All those small, consistent acts slowly transform them. They don't just act disciplined, they become disciplined people in their core identity.
Which brings us back to that fundamental idea. You don't just magically achieve your goals, you tend to fall back to the level of your systems and your identity. So when your daily habits become who you are, that's when deep change really happens. It becomes almost inevitable.
Okay, so this is great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we build these identity-aligned habits? Habits basically are the brain's way of saving energy, right?
Yeah.
Creating a shortcuts. Lay uses learning to drive as an analogy. At first, total concentration. Gear shifts, mirrors, steering, intense. Now, for most of us, it's automatic. Subconscious almost. Understanding that is key because good and bad habits work the same way, below conscious thought. So we need the right things to become automatic.
hmm And this brings us to Clear's 4 steps, which Lay highlights. The habit loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. It breaks down as this. The cue is the trigger. It sparks a craving, which is the motivation, the desire. That craving leads to the response, the actual habit or action. And finally, the reward satisfies the craving and tells your brain, hey, remember this loop? It worked. It's like this little domino effect that our brains use constantly to streamline things, good or bad.
And knowing that structure, that neurological dance,
Oh,
is
yeah.
super powerful because it means you can actually tinker with each step. You can intentionally design your cues, manage your cravings, make the response easier, ensure the reward is satisfying for the habits you want. And you can do the opposite to break the ones you don't.
Yeah, one of the tricky things about habits, especially ones we've had for a long time, is they become almost invisible, like driving. Lay mentions this personally, those quick phone glances, maybe not quite stopping fully at a stop sign. You don't even realize you're doing it half the time. This invisibility isn't permanent, though. It just means we have to consciously shine a light on our automatic behaviors sometimes.
And a tool Lay recommends for that, from Clear, is the habit scorecard. It's actually really simple. You just list your routines for a certain activity, like your morning routine or what you do after work. Then you rate each habit. Is it positive, plus, negative, or neutral? It forces you to actually see them, and it connects them right back to your identity. Lay gives the example of choosing a chicken salad versus a triple cheeseburger. It's not just lunch. It's a vote for who you're being.
Okay, so once you see them, how do you build a new one effectively? Vague intentions, they don't really work. Clear found, and Lay emphasizes, that specificity is crucial. I'll try to exercise more. That's too vague. Compare that to, I will work out at Planet Fitness on Main Street every Wednesday and Friday at 5:30 p.m. right after I leave the office. See the difference? No ambiguity. Clear triggers, much higher chance of success.
And you can build on that with something called habit stacking. Lay really likes this one. The formula is simple. After I current habit, I will new habit. Etcha. So you anchor the new behavior you want to an existing one you already do automatically. Lay gives examples like maybe after I finish my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute, or after I take off my work shoes, I will put on my running shoes.
And another huge piece, often overlooked, is your environment. Environmental design. Think about it. Stores arrange products very carefully to make you buy things. Our surroundings constantly nudge us. So why not be the architect of your own environment? Put healthy snacks where you can see them easily. Keep your running shoes by the door. Hide the remote if you watch too much TV. Make the good cues obvious and the bad cues invisible.
So it's less about gritting your teeth and using sheer willpower, and more about setting up your space so that the good choice is just easier, the path of least resistance.
Exactly. You're making it easy to succeed. Which leads into the next crucial element, desire. What actually drives us? Clear's work, looking at things like lab rat studies, shows desire is fundamental. If you remove the dopamine hit, the desire motivation plummets. So we need to tap into that, make our desired habits attractive.
Okay, how do we do that? Clear has this strategy called desire bundling. Basically, you pair something you want to do with something you need to do. Lay used this himself. He'd only let himself listen to his absolute favorite podcasts or audiobooks while he was exercising. Suddenly, the gym wasn't just a workout. It was his dedicated podcast time. Made it way more appealing.
And Lay talks about commitment triggers, too, little tricks to lock yourself in, like his
Yeah.
strategy. Get to the gym, immediately change into workout clothes, get onto the gym floor. Why? Because the thought of then having to shower, change back, and leave without working out feels like such a hassle. It uses his own aversion to friction against him. Clever.
Huh. Yeah, that is clever. So putting this together, Atomic Habits offers this enhanced formula that combines stacking and bundling. After current habit, I will new habit. After new habit, I will reward I want. So after I finish dinner, I will go for a 15-minute walk. After my walk, I will watch one episode of my favorite show. Integrates it all.
And don't forget the social angle. Habits are contagious, We tend to adopt the behaviors of the groups we belong to. People who hang out with other gym goers are more likely to go to the gym. Writers groups encourage writing. So part of the strategy is intentionally putting yourself in environments where your desired habits are just the norm, the expected thing.
Okay, here's a surprising one Lay mentions. Using laziness as an advantage. That sounds counterintuitive. We often get stuck in analysis paralysis, right? Planning forever, never starting. That first step feels like the hardest part. So how can laziness possibly help?
Well, Claire calls it strategic laziness. It's about making that first step ridiculously easy, removing all friction. Lay gives the example of someone who hates the gym. The goal isn't go work out for an hour. It's just drive to the gym and maybe walk inside for 5 minutes. That's it. Then reward yourself. Go home. Watch a movie. The point is just showing up. Getting there is often the biggest battle. Once you're there, doing a bit more feels easier.
I like that. Lower the barrier to entry. Lay even shared a story about breaking his gaming habit. His wife helped, kind of sneakily. She started making it slightly harder to play, packing the console away after use, needing to find cables, waiting for updates. Each little bit of friction added up. Eventually, it just became too much hassle to bother playing. The friction costs got too high.
That's a perfect example. Don't just rely on willpower, which comes and goes. Redesign the environment. Make the bad habits difficult, inconvenient, or even impossible. Make the good habits the easy default. Okay, last big piece. Satisfaction, the reward. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification. That's why smoking, eating junk food, the reward is instant. Exercise, saving money, the big rewards are delayed, and makes those harder to stick with. We need to find ways to make the good habits satisfying now.
Right. Clear outlines a progressive reward system, which Lay explains well. It goes through stages. Stage 1, external rewards may be a small treat after doing the habit. Stage 2, visible progress. Seeing your streak on a calendar, tracking workouts, that feels good. Stage 3, internal rewards, starting to actually enjoy the activity itself. Stage 4, identity-based satisfaction. The ultimate reward is simply acting in alignment with the person you want to be. It feels good just being that person.
And Lee's own fitness journey shows this progression. He started with maybe external treats after workouts. Then he got into tracking his progress, seeing improvements. Then he found activities he genuinely enjoyed, like listening to podcasts while working out. And finally, it just became part of his identity being a healthy, active person. That identity itself is the reward, making the whole cycle self-sustaining.
So the trick is finding ways to make the process rewarding along the way. not just waiting for the big payoff later, like Lay combining workouts with podcasts or trying new healthy recipes, making cooking fun, tracking metrics. It makes the journey engaging in itself.
So pulling it all together, the real magic of these atomic habits, these tiny changes, is how they compound over time. It's like compound interest for your life. Small, consistent deposits build into something huge. The key isn't dramatic, unsustainable bursts. It's consistency, patience, small improvements, day after day.
So the big message for you listening, you really can design a system for continuous improvement, one that feels natural, sustainable. It's about understanding these principles, identity, cues, cravings, responses, rewards, environment, and applying them intentionally. It's not about one giant leap. It's about the power of those small, steady steps compounding. So here's something to think about. If every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to become, what identity are your habits voting for today? And how might you want to adjust that ballot tomorrow?
Just remember, that extraordinary power to change lies in those small, seemingly simple adjustments that compound into incredible results, whatever you're aiming for: work, personal life, health, anything.
We really hope this deep dive gave you some useful ways to think about your own habits and your path to change. If you want to explore more of Lee's writing and related ideas, definitely check out bullishbooks.com and subscribe there for more wealth wisdom and insights from the entrepreneur's bookshelf.